All right, my new school, the John David Ebert School for the Study of Culture, Cosmology, and the Arts, is now up and live on Teachable. And so here's the page for our first class, Transformations of Consciousness Through Time, A Journey Through the Cosmos. Will be the first class, and it's an 8-week course that starts on May 14th, which is a Saturday, at noon my time, which is Mountain Standard Time, so it'll be 2 hours every Saturday for 8 weeks. And we'll go through philosophers of the evolution of consciousness. And here I chose as the image for the course the god Vishnu, who is asleep, and his dream is the world. But that dream is emanated out through the god Brahma, whose 4 faces shine like a movie projector, Vishnu's dream of the world, out into the 4 different directions. North, south, east, and west. And so when his dream begins, when the petals unfold, and then Brahma awakens and projects the dream of the world out. And then it ends when Brahma then goes back down into the lotus, and the lotus goes back down in. And all this is a personification of what in the Upanishads is a discussion of the movement of Om, A-U-M, which is the key for the mantra Om, Om. And A corresponds to deep dreamless sleep, which is what happens when Brahma goes back down and the dream stops and the world goes into a pralaya, or a darkening. Everything goes down the drain. And then U corresponds to the dream, Vishnu's dream, the dreaming consciousness, and then M to waking. So it is an evolution of consciousness, both that we go through every single day, but also that the entire history of the cosmos is going through. And also with Gene Gebser, for those of you who are familiar with his ever-present origin, he basically borrows this model, this mythological model, and its philosophical version from the Upanishads, and he sees the entire history of humanity as unfolding as a gradual process of awakening more and more as humanity has moved from the tribal world of the magical to the high civilizational world of the mythical, then into the sharp, waking, bright daylight of the Greeks with the mental consciousness, first phase, and then the second phase beginning in the Renaissance with our civilization. And now he sees that consciousness becoming deficient and tired and switching to the integral consciousness structure. So this is the curriculum here. I've pre-recorded 8 lectures, which the student will watch the lecture before meeting, and then when we meet, I'll talk for about 15, 20 minutes on a topic for us to discuss that's relevant to the lecture, and then we'll spend the next 2 hours or so discussing. So the first one is the introduction, just the sort of course welcome and orientation there for 20 minutes. But then the first biggie starts with Rudolf Steiner and knowledge of the higher worlds. These are ideally 45 minutes to an hour, each one of these. Sri Aurobindo and the descent of the supramental. And then the following week, we'll look at Gene Gebser and the structures of consciousness. Then we'll look at Eric Neumann and the origins and history of consciousness. Then we'll look at Teilhard de Chardin and the Christification of consciousness. Then finally, we'll conclude with Arthur Young and the reflexive universe. And then we'll have a concluding talk on my idea that all of these guys are tantamount to the entrance onto the stage of world history of the second axial age, echoing Karl Jaspers's idea of the first axial age, which took place back 500 BC to 200 BC, when all the great philosophers were alive across the board. Pythagoras and the Buddha, Confucius and Lao Tzu, Zarathustra, and so on. They were all practicing their philosophical, spiritual ideas, giving the individual the tools for self-salvation so that the individual didn't have to rely on the corrupt, degenerate priesthoods of those dying world cities from that troubled millennium. So we'll talk about that for the closing discussion. So that's it. The price of the course is $500. There might be a payment plan where you can pay $100 for 5 months, $100 a month for 5 months. For some reason, I typed it in, but it's not showing up on here. But let me know if you prefer that option, and I'll see if I can figure out how to set it up. I thought I did set it up, but it's not appearing here as one of the options. And there's the enroll button, so you just click that to sign up, and it's that simple. And if you want, put your email address in here, at the bottom, so you'll receive updates from the school as we go along. I have a lot of courses in mind, quite a few. A class on, I want to do an 8-week course on Nietzsche, where we just read the books of Nietzsche. Also an 8-week course on German idealist philosophy, and another one on the evolution of science fiction. But I also want to do one also on psychology, on the history of psychology, beginning with Edvard von Hartmann's Psychology of the Unconscious, and then continuing down through Freud, Jung, Lacan, and Stanislav Grof and James Hillman. So those will most likely be the actors for that if we do a course on the evolution of psychology. All right, that's it. The sign up button, I'll put the link in the description on the bottom here. And hit me up if you're interested in private astrology readings. I'm still doing those. Those are still going. Hit me up at johndavidebert@gmail.com for that. And my Substack also is live and happening. So there's also that as well. Okay, I'll leave it there for now.